Oh, well, in the studios, we'll be having our news director join us on this particular segment of Undaunted tonight as he analyzes and gives us in depth insight to this particular story for tonight. Good evening, Mr. Ta.
Good evening, Star. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, yesterday we brought a report similar to the one we just gave now about Sylvester Madu, popularly known as Shina Rambo. And today, these ex-Super Eagles stars from Nigeria. Now I wonder, is there a possibility that these folks are oblivious of the ongoing war in Amazonia, that La Republique has managed somehow to convince the world that there is normalcy? Or did they really not mind or care and risk their lives coming for the colonial La Republique's event in the war-torn Amazonia?
Um, Thank you for that question. I think what is currently happening right now um, is about a colonial administration that is adamant to human life. It has no sympathy, and that is simply explains the attitude of tyrannic governments. Cameroon, like we said yesterday, is merely trying to show dominance over a territory they would have conquered in 1961. Remember, like the president was explaining, and that's a history that our generation is already well informed about. We were supposed to come into a union of two states of equal status. Cameroon denied to sign the document that would have authenticated that civil arrangement, but instead decided to invade our national territory. And that is the root cause of the war we're fighting today. So we've been fighting a war that Biya himself declared against us on the 30th of November 2017, simply defending our territorial boundaries. Cameroon is avoiding international or foreign intervention. Cameroon is escaping from any form of a negotiation. And so either the Cameroonian government or their proxies are powered by Yaoundé or the cabal in Yaoundé to organize festivities. You have music festivals trying to act movies or act movies that defy our very existence as a people. Like the movie, unfortunately, Sylvester Madu will find himself participating in a politically customized movie without even knowing. We were aware that he's just an actor coming to play his role. But the orchestrators or the masterminds behind these activities actually are not just actors. They have been empowered by evil politicians in Yaoundé. So it's a game. It's a way of telling the internet, is that they're sending signals to the international community, telling the international community, hey, we can do festivals in Southern Cameroons. We can organize football tournaments in Southern Cameroons. We can act movies in Southern Cameroons. That is a movie promoting the green, red, yellow flag. So this is an internal matter. It's just an internal political uprising. We have control and we are ready to handle it. And we understand that. And we're not going to let that happen. So that is why you would have Gabonese, who is the spokesperson for the Amazonian Restoration Forces at the home front, actually sending, issuing a stark warnings to FECAFOOT, any, including the Anglophones who are part of FECAFOOT, to Samuel Eto'o, who was warned not to come to Bamenda, but he has been smuggling himself or sneaking into Victoria from time to time with a military convoy. And they are warning Nigerian superstars. JJ Okocha is a player that I personally loved. He is a player that has made history for Africa as a whole. And just for those who are thinking that this might be a fight against it, best African player that I love in the world when it comes to soccer is Samuel Eto'o. I particularly don't love any African player more than Samuel Eto'o. That means based on his talent. But when it comes to his political positioning and the fact of his country, I am in at variance with him. You must understand that Eto'o particularly is against the independence of Ambazonia. And he has shown that a couple of times, many different ways. We've seen Eto'o despising that. So coming to the occasion that's going to take place, or that Eto'o is organizing, Eto'o's FECAFOOT is organizing in Ambazonia. That is an illegal activity. That is an intrusion into a sovereign territory where you're coming to raise high a flag that we consider a flag and a symbol of betrayal. Thank you very much.
That from
Onye,
your observation,
Onye, can you
Mr.
Onye, can you take your question all over again? You started and the volume
Yes,
was loud.
please. Yes, please. I was trying to interject where you made a very strong statement, but let me just take you back a bit. You just said here that you observed that Mr. Samuel Eto'o is against the Amazonian independence struggle. Why would he be against the struggle? Why do you think he is against the struggle? Why do you think he is ignoring the fact that, just like we've read this evening, young girls are raped, mothers are raped? Why would someone who has seen a global life, someone who has toured the world around, why do you think someone can ignore the kind of pain, the kind of anger, the kind of trauma, the tears that the Amazonian people are going through?
Um, I'll start by telling you that Samuel Eto'o um, has shown a great sense of excellence when it comes to the pitch of soccer, of football. But when it comes to honesty, I would say that he is a terribly dishonest youth that even French Cameroonians should not be proud of him. Samuel Eto'o is first of all not honest with his nation, the French Republic of Cameroon, La République du Cameroun, because you have Samuel Eto'o, after having traveled globally, seeing his own young colleague like George Weah becoming a president in Liberia, Samuel Eto'o endorsing an octogenarian, a man who has lost consciousness, like President Biya for elections, only tells you the kind of person that he is. He is loved mostly by those who believe that he he um he loves their country. He has been an excellent player, but he is wanting change. There cannot be effective change in any organization or system or nation with a mundane mentality like that of Samuel Eto'o. Samuel Eto'o's first advocacy for change should have been with him advocating for change in the leadership of a country that whose economy has been raped by a terrorist or a dictator that has been in power for 4 decades. It is unheard of. So Eto'o is not a friend to democracy. There are even questions as to how he got himself at the helm of FECAFOOT. But we leave that for French Cameroonians to take care of. Our focus is in the genocide that President Biya has declared in Ambazonia. Samuel Eto'o is inadvertently in support of this genocide because if he would support Biya to be president in his country, whereas a cross section of the youths are in contravention with that idea, only tells you that he supports foolishness. He supports the invasion of Eto'o has never ever he purportedly positions himself as a philanthropist. Eto'o has never ever provided aid to the Amazonian refugees in Nigeria. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of refugees. You just reported earlier on that the influx into Nigeria is escalating because of the war in Amazonia. And even the UNHCR is reporting it. Globally, Samuel Eto'o would give subvention to victims of Boko Haram, northern part of French Cameroon. And I tell people the so-called thing that you call Boko Haram in northern Cameroon is Bia's propaganda to beg money in the diaspora. Bia begs for military support to come and uh, subjugate, to come and fight against the people in Amazonia. So Eto'o is asking me why I think Eto'o will not support Ambazonia's quest for freedom is partly because French Cameroonians have been taught to believe that we are one nation. So even the education or re-education that we're giving to them, they are not taking it into consideration. Number two is because according to them, they call us les Baminda, les Francophones, les Anglophones or Anglophones. According to them, Ambazonia or Southern Cameroons is their priceless possession. It's something for them to use to do whatever thing they want to do with it. That is typically unfortunate. So you would have them, civilians or people like Cabral Libi or superstars in French Cameroon, they will either stay quiet and or advise their government to use military aggression to take over our land. And if you permit me, if you do not have any question else for me, if you permit me, I'd like to conclude on this note. Do you have any question for me in this regard?
Mr. Paddy, owing to the fact that we still have a couple more celebrities around the world, especially since we've gotten two cases from Nigeria accepting these invitations from La Republique and its proxies to for whatever events in southern Cameroon's Amazonia. It goes a long way to show that they probably are not aware or are aware but don't understand the gravity of the war on ground, and also the fact that it has political intricacies, like the fact that the arrival there gets to portray the notion that La République is in charge of the quote conflict going on in both Cameroons. Like, the question now is, how do you think the interim government can further state its stance to, especially its neighboring countries like Nigeria, about their involvement with La République in Amazonia, seeing most of these popular figures and stars do not exactly understand the international and political intricacies?
The first thing I would like to tell you straightforwardly, Mr. Smart, that the peoples of Amazonia will not take responsibility for anybody's ignorance when it comes to the Amazonian freedom movement. Any celebrity, superstar, or socialite who is not a citizen of any of the Cameroons, who claims to be ignorant, we will definitely shift the blame to them. And I want to use the opportunity to thank you, Undaunted, for close to 2 years today. You have been informing the world with the accuracy, exactitude of what is happening in Amazonia. That they choose to despise it is their fault. It's their fault. And partly we think that Cameroon is also playing a fast one on the media. And since Rene Sadi was appointed or took over from Issa Churuma, who is now of late, he is a technician who understood the media game, because our generation took them unawares in 2016 on the media, informing the world of the genocide that is going on. I want to use this to say that the genocide in Amazonia did not start in 2016. When Frundi won the election in 1992, I was less than 10 years old. And in the primary school, you could actually see how that Cameroon military would spray bullets in a primary school. I was in in the Catholic primary school in Small Mancon at the time. For the first time in my life, imagine a kid of my age, I could actually see the intestines of a human being. that was shot simply because people were protesting against elections that Mr. Biya rigged. So and after that, there was no media. The entire media was controlled by CRTV. And so many hundreds of people were slaughtered. When Aijo invaded the national territory of Amazonia in 1961, a lot of our people were slaughtered and nobody knew about it. It was disappeared. In 2008, Biya killed a lot of his own people and our people because of a national protest against fuel prices that were escalating. In 2016, fortunately, almost everybody has now become a journalist. Thank God to Mark Zuckerberg and the evolution that is taking place in the social media. Multimedia has revolutionized the media space in such a way that it is difficult for criminal institutions to, to effectively conceal the truth. I think that Cameroon has understood these dynamics and they have stepped up their game because they will now understand or use or take advantage of what is called the Facebook community. They are bribing those because Facebook community and their laws and principles is managed based on regions of the world. Ambazonia, the Gulf of Guinea, is managed by someone in Central Africa, in Congo there. And the Cameroon government were well informed that is bribing this individual to make sure that whatever we do on our social media space is not communicated abroad, or there are restrictions. They restrict images that you have, that same images streamed by CNN, Wayon, and every other BBC on their platforms, and nothing is going to happen. So there is a spine also on mainstream media not to communicate. For instance, mainstream media continues to call us separatists. Separation or secession is not popular in today's world order. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that we are not separatists or secessionists like they would want to say it, but we are restorationists, restoring an independence that has been stolen. That is the debate Cameroon avoids. A lot of people have chosen not to educate themselves, but everybody should have known that the influx of refugees in Nigeria, Okocha should be aware that the influx of refugees into Nigeria should give him an information that all is not well in the land. The story of Sylvester Madu has been reported by the Nigerian press. Can Okocha and Stephen Kechi and the Nigerian Football Federation and the Nigerian government take advantage of this to caution these players of Nigeria to stay clear of Amazonia? That will be left for them. But what I want to say in conclusion is this: any individual who is coming to organize any illicit activity in Amazonia is a potential military target. And not only the restoration forces will gun you down, Cameroon will also gun you down. And you can easily become a victim of a crossover, of a crossfire, which is an apology.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Paddy. That'll be about it with you here in Undaunted tonight. Thank you so much for your time here.